GPT 4.1 is a blessing sent from above. It's not just faster and better than GPT 4.0, it's also cheaper, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. Today I'm going to share exactly why we implemented GPT 4.1 across all of our clients yesterday after testing it for only a couple of hours and what we learned in the process. So before we dive into exactly what we learned in the past 24 hours and why we decided to implement GPT 4.1, I just want to quickly dive into a comparison between GPT 4.1 and the standard flagship that we used to use for AI agents across the board, GPT 4.0. Now, GPT 4.1 has a couple distinct advantages. The input context window, for example, is almost 10x as large. So the context window for GPT 4.0 used to be 128,000. For GPT 4.1, it's 1 million tokens. The output tokens are also significantly bigger, being almost double the amount that GPT 4.0 used to have. And the knowledge cutoff date for GPT 4.1 is also much more recent, so June 2024 compared to October 2023 for GPT 4.0. But these are just surface level numbers, so what does this actually mean? GPT 4.1 has better reasoning and follows instructions that you provide it with more precisely. When building an AI agent, you only have one shot, so the prompt that you have needs to be absolutely dialed in because it's going to be having a real conversation, at least in the use cases that we're building, so the output needs to be spot on to be able to be sent to a potential customer. Now with GPT 4.0, we often build complex multi-agent systems, or we had to tweak the prompts hundreds of times to make sure it follows the instructions like we want it to. GPT 4.1, on the other hand, will handle the exact same instructions more precisely, avoiding the need for you having to go in and constantly tweak the individual parts of your prompt to make sure that you word the instructions in the exact way needed for GPT 4.0 to understand. So all of this combined with you being able to provide a bigger context to the model means that you can add more information and more instructions into the same prompt while GPT 4.1 is able to follow it better and more precisely without you having to tweak every little detail. So this by itself already is amazing, but then when you scroll down to the pricing comparison is when your jaw just drops. Somehow OpenAI has made GPT 4.1 even cheaper than GPT 4.0. So if we compare it, GPT 4.0 has $2.5 per million input tokens, and GPT 4.1 is only $2 per million input tokens. The same goes for output. GPT 4.1 is $2 cheaper per million output tokens that you generate. So while this isn't a big difference, it's just a nice added bonus. We're saving money while getting something better. This is amazing. So let's quickly dive in and discuss how this impacted our AI agents that we built for our clients. When we saw the news that it was released, we immediately started testing in staging environments for all of our clients. And what we found across the board is that it performed better, it sounded more human-like, it was following our instructions more precisely, and the key lesson here is our lives simply became easier and simpler. There were some ongoing projects where we were testing a ton before deployment to make sure that it's following all of these instructions. Switching it to GPT 4.1 magically evaporated all of these issues, and it's now working perfectly fine with the instructions that we previously gave it. Multi-agent setups are now way more smooth when working together because each individual agent follows its instructions more precisely, meaning that the system as a whole works better together. And in some use cases, you can even avoid multi-agent setups altogether because a single agent is able to handle more input inside of that one system prompt. Another thing that we immediately discovered is that we no longer have to brute force prompt changes. What we used to do is try and figure out how exactly we need to phrase this one thing in order for the model to be able to understand and follow those instructions. And oftentimes we included the same instructions in multiple places inside of the prompt to ensure that it never makes this mistake. With GPT 4.1, it's looking right now like this is a non-issue. Of course, you still have to test. Of course, you still have to fine-tune your prompt. However, it's just become much, much easier and simpler. And talking specifically about AI sales agents, which is what we build, we've just noticed that it handles objections better, it handles the script smoother, and it transitions between two different thoughts. So for example, if you acknowledge the objection and handle it, and then ask the next question from the script, GPT 4.0 would be very rigid in the way that it does it, whereas GPT 4.1 will now be able to break those two thoughts apart and transition smoothly between them. Now, who does this even benefit? First of all, it benefits everybody who's building AI solutions, whether you build AI agents for sales, like we do, for customer support, whether you're building complex automation systems to handle the back ends of businesses. This will make your life easier, and number two, it will make your clients' lives better, because a better solution means better results, means everyone's happy, and it's a win-win. Overall, this is a huge W by OpenAI. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. If you have any questions about what we've learned so far, let me know. And if you found some value in this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel.